Hello, thank you for joining us. Today we are denouncing Scientology, child trafficking, and abuse. Today we speak not only for ourselves, but for every child who has suffered in silence within the walls of Scientology. Our experiences were not childhoods, they were nightmares carefully crafted by a so called church operating out of literal hotels. These places where our parents invested their money and trust offered not love and safety, but fear, abuse, and total enslavement. These hotels, cloaked in pretense of self improvement, were in reality hotbeds of systemic child abuse. Disguised as enlightenment through tortures, no child was ever of age to consent to. Let us be unequivocally clear. We are not messengers, representatives, or accomplices to the horrors we endured as children. The grooming, manipulation, and abuse were normalized by adults that were either too indoctrinated to see the truth or too complicit to care. These were not simply misguided parents, they were enablers, led astray by the twisted doctrines of L. Ron Hubbard, a convicted felon who built his entire empire on deceit and control. Hubbard's teaching didn't just excuse this abuse, they glorified it, turning innocent children into fair game. The normalization of this abuse was insidious and pervasive. It wasn't just physical or emotional, it was psychological warfare, a systemic destruction of innocence. Adults should have been protectors, became enforcers, convinced Hubbard's perverse teachings that the trauma they inflicted was necessary and even beneficial. They followed his twisted doctrines with a zeal that blinded them to the real damage they were actively causing. As survivors, we refuse to carry the burden of their complicity. We reject the notion that their actions were justifiable or excusable. The pain and suffering inflicted upon us and countless other children were not the result of misguided love or tough discipline. They were the outcomes of a system designed to exploit and control us. Scientology thrives on secrecy and manipulation, silencing dissent and punishing those who dare to speak out. It preys on every child it ensnares. But we will no longer be silenced. The horrific abuse we endured was not normal. It was not deserved, and it will not define us. Today, we stand united to declare that the legacy of Scientology's systemic, institutional child trafficking and abuse ends with us. We will not allow the crimes committed against us as children to shape the future. To all the children still strapped within Scientology's grasp, you are not alone and you are not powerless. The first step toward liberation is acknowledging the truth. To those who have escaped, speak out, share your stories, and join us in dismantling the toxic legacy of a convicted felon who masked his criminality with false promises and disgusting, destructive doctrines. The cycle of abuse stops here. The truth will no longer be hidden. It's time to expose Scientology for what it truly is, a cult built on the suffering of children and the deception of their parents who put them in harm's way. It's time for those who survived to reclaim the lives and the voices lost at the threshold of a Scientology hotel just for being born. Thank you.
I think you said it the right way when you asked me to bring that up, and I'm glad that we decided to open the tonight's show with that. I think it's pretty much as powerful a statement as you can find on something like that. Now, you know Serge and Michael much better than I do, and you know just how. And now Michael is without a doubt the calm one, and Serge is more emotional, but what they say is very well thought out and very much to the point. I think they do a fantastic job of it. Do you get basically the same feelings when you're talking to them?
I do. Yes, I do. And they do. They bounce back and forth between Michael's the calm one and then Serge's the calm one, and then they flip roles, and it's just very poignant in everything that he talks about. I love talking with Serge. I had the pleasure yesterday of talking with him. We meant to be on a 5-10 minute phone call, and we were on for 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just sucked so much knowledge in from him. It was just really incredible.
You know, and one of the things I think is amazing is, you know, you think of Michael as being this very educated, very calm, very thoughtful person about things. And I think a lot of people overlook Serge and just how smart he is and how much information he brings into everything. And I think that it's I hate seeing people just, you know, overlook Serge. And I think that he really deserves a lot of credit for the things that he says, and a lot of, you know, how smart he is and how well thought out he is on a lot of things. And
He's very strategic.
yeah. Yeah. And folks, I put the link to Serge's channel in there. That was his live he did this morning. And the title of it is "We Did Not Consent." Make sure you get over there, check it out, give it a, give it a like. If you're not already, make sure that you're subscribed to Serge's and Michael's channels. They are, I think they are very pivotal in being very strong voices in this fight against Scientology. And the information that Serge brings in, we're not just talking rumors, gossip, things like that. These are true experiences that Serge has lived and experiences he has to live through every day. So make sure that you show him. Yeah, there you go, Rib Guy. He can data dump faster than most can comprehend. He is amazing. That's absolutely correct. So, Miss Mona, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it really, yesterday when we were talking, he read, because he had just wrote this thought process out just the day before.
Mhm.
And I said, Serge, you know, we are trying to talk with so many legislators, so many authorities, so many councils and commissions and boards. I need something that is to the point, succinct. I need for you to look the camera in the eye and talk to the camera and tell the camera exactly that. This would be perfect. And so he did. He made this. There's no fluff, there's no rants and raves. It's exactly what he needed to say. And so I can use this in the work that I'm doing. So
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
perfect.
And Cinderly, I don't know. Mona, do you know if Serge is self-educated or if he has additional schooling?
He is self-educated.
Okay. As with so many that come out of Scientology. I mean, you look at people like Jamie Mustard and the things that he's accomplished, and he literally taught himself what he knows. So it's amazing that you have these folks that are coming out, and the level of education they received in there, which is pretty much bogus, and they're able to, go beyond those limitations that were put on them and have some just amazing things to do. Marina, yeah, Serge is absolutely incredible. He and Michael are fantastic people. So, Miss Mona, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Tonight, we're going to give a little bit of a recap of what we've done in the past, just some updates real quick. And then I want to talk about a new process, a new fight that we can put to use. I can't tell you about the claim that I have done, but because it is secretive, it's
Right.
something that I can't do, but I can give you an example of how we can use it. And what I do, I know you say, "Oh, it's great, blah blah blah." But, it's not sexy. It's not out running around getting arrested. It's not out yelling and screaming, and I really wish I could. I would just have so much fun. I really wanna get arrested one of these days, just for the laws of it. And it's not sexy, but it has intrinsic value. It really does. And for as much extrinsic value that it has and that I see that it's helping, it sure makes me feel good to be able to do something. And I'm seeing advances. I'm seeing progression in what we're doing. And that's a good feeling. It
Yeah.
really is.
And, I've talked about it, I don't know how many times. We need the protesters. We need the auditors. We need the folks that are here watching and sharing the episodes, getting the information out there, using the content, and helping to step up their game in protesting or auditing. But a lot of folks don't realize that, yeah, those do amazing things in and of themselves. But in the real fight against Scientology, as to ending their religious status, stopping their ability to duck out on tax exemption, their ability to allow these heinous acts to occur within their religion, hide it. There has to be something more than protesting, has to be more than the auditing, more than the creating content on here on YouTube. But the problem is that in doing so, we have to do things clandestinely, because if we put it out there, what is happening and how we're doing it in real time, it just gives Scientology the ability to build their defense. And we already know they're very quick in what they do. They are able to rebound and respond to things very quickly. They pay very, very knowledgeable people a lot of money to be able to do this. So when we bring up things, there are certain things that are already in action and you get a whiff of them or something like that. But that's the most that we can do until things are actually fully in operation. Once it's in operation and Scientology knows about it, then we can start talking about it. But until then, we have to be very careful what we say, because we don't want to tip our hat in a way that's going
Yeah.
to allow them to prepare their defenses.
And this
So,
is truly for being
yeah.
secretive for a different reason. I'll get into it in just a second, but honestly, what we're doing and what I've been and I'm gonna dime her out. Audit LA is my counterpart. She's boots on the ground and I'm behind the scenes. And we have a blast doing this because, well, it's fun being gnats on the Church of Scientology. But what we're doing is almost like a reverse fair game, a reverse safe point. And it's kind of fun.
That's nice.
Audit
And
LA is the boss. Yes, she is, Rib Guy.
now,
And go
go ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. I
Nope.
was just all right. So, in recapping what's been done so far, you want to start laying a few things out there as to some of the acts that have been happening. I know we know, of course, about you doing a lot of the neighborhood meetings with LA and also the Office of the Inspector General.
Yep, and one of the best results out of the OIG meeting that we had put together and attended, and that we did secretly and then came out, and of course we took slack for not blah blah blah. There's going to be quite a bit of blah 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 blahs today because whatever. But one of the big thing is we asked for them to not employ the LAPD for the events anymore. And what happened? They made them hire a third party security force, and it's made a huge difference in protesting around the buildings in LA. But that was a direct result of Audit and Michael and Serge and I working with them, with the OIG. And that's what I was saying is that it's incredible seeing some of this stuff come to fruition of what's been happening. Now the SWATs have still been happening, but they haven't been um as violent. Um I Audit and I attend these meetings. I do it virtually. She's either there or virtually. And I don't know how many of these neighborhood meetings we've been swatted. Almost every single one. And I kind of giggle. I mean, they never have their guns drawn really. The last one they swatted us, the fire chief battalion, the brand new fire chief battalion happened to be there to introduce himself to the neighborhood council. And we were laughing and Audit's like, well, it's probably a good thing you're here because that's MO is the fire crew comes next for a gas leak or something. He
Yeah,
goes, well, phew, good, it's a thing I'm here. But that was a swatting for a shooting. Come on. I mean, we know who's doing this. And
absolutely.
we attend the LAPD commission meetings every Tuesday morning, the public works meetings 3 times a week, all the neighborhood council meetings, the business industry meeting, which they have a Scientologist. There's quite a few Scientologists on all these councils, but the head of the business council there in Hollywood is one of their big whales.
Mm.
S- You know, it's just ridiculous how on my picture, on my thumbnail, I've got your picture, but I've got an octopus on his head. And that's kind of what it is they've got tentacles reached out into all these different areas. And it's been a wild ride trying to figure out because when you take one tentacle off, another one grasps, and then you take that one off, and this one grasps again, and it's sometimes frustrating, but they're losing, and you can
It's
see
like
it.
the Hydra. Take
Yep.
one and another one appears. It's amazing stuff. You know, they the depths that they're going to try to defend this cult, and I'd say more of the Keebler King and the way his need to protect his riches and his being treated like a king. He's willing to go as far as he needs to get things done. And it's sad that it's like that, but that's the reality of it. He's literally fighting for his lifestyle. And he knows that once things happen and they lose their religious exemption, they lose their tax exemption, that he's not going to be able to continue this life the way he has. I honestly see when it starts falling, just a complete dump of all the properties that they have, getting
Hmm.
amassing as much money as possible, and then running off to some island in the middle of nowhere where he can live out the rest of his life like a king.
Right.
And
Well,
you
the
know,
FBI claims are doing something. Now, like most of this other stuff, you don't hear anything back from it. It's not immediate response. You don't get a letter in the mail saying,
right.
"Oh, we got him. We took him down. He's behind your bars." You don't see anything until something happens or you hear little tickles. And I've been hearing whispers about the FBI.
Right.
Um, that'll be awesome. Um, for the neighborhood council meetings, the FBI with, I've got little notes here. As I said, I printed out some stuff. Um, What I really wanted to talk about tonight, though, was a new process that I I didn't think it up. There was one of our chatters that comes into our chat spaces, our channels quite often, and I won't say her name because I didn't get her authorization to do it, but she said she was on what's called a civil grand jury, and in the United States, about half the states have criminal grand juries that they use, and there's only 7 states that have civil grand juries. Criminal grand juries is what it means. It's a secret, private, where the prosecutors bring forth witnesses, the, victims, and the jury, and they look through the evidence to make sure that there's enough evidence in order to take it to trial for the conviction. And then a lot of times this is a hot topic or a contentious item that's happening or a person, and they don't want to just throw it out there because it would ruin them if they just take them out. That's what a lot of the pretrial hearings are for in other states. But in California, the criminal grand jury does that.
Mhm.
In California, they also have what's called the civil grand jury. Now, the civil grand jury is county specific, so each county has a civil jury, and they are the overseer, and the judiciary system, the OIG, if you will, of the county and the city offices and officials. So, to make a complaint with them, you can do it as a citizen, and you're looking at county or city processes and whether they're being abused or not done right or violated.
You
You
mean
make
like
the
giving out permits for certain things like blocking off an entire roadway and both sidewalks or things like that?
that's that's a good example that I can't talk about. Can't talk
Okay.
about that one.
Uh,
But and I will give a really good example, another example, a different example. But when you do this process, you file the complaint, you file your information that you have, whether it's videos or dates and times, and then it's up to the jury itself, the grand jury itself, to do the investigation. So once you put that complaint in, it's out of your hands.
Now, who sits on these civil grand juries? Is
The
it
civil
citizen?
in California, the civil grand jury, they are picked like a regular petite jury,
Okay.
like a regular court jury, but they serve for a year.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole year, and what they do is they take in investigations for as many as they can or whatever they have the time to do, and then they investigate. Sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes all year. And then they file a report at the end of the year to the district attorney to make the changes. Most of the time, when this happens, when the investigations start, it's kind of like a golden button saying, you better get your shit together. And so all of a sudden, the office, whatever you're doing, whatever they're doing, stops. So whatever bad behavior they're involved in, it'll come to a halting stop because they're being investigated and everybody in the office is being investigated. And they're pulling every single receipt. So give an example, and we can talk more about this, but let's give an example. When Henry was there at the Blue Building, he would go down, I believe it was Fountain Avenue, and he was starting to look at, oh, wow, look at all these people that are parked here that have handicap permits. It's like they're parked here so that way nobody else can park here. And they're parked here for days at a time. Who's
Well,
doing this? And so they would call and complain, and parking enforcement wouldn't do a dang thing about it. Jessica parked there one day and she got towed within an hour. I mean, it was just ridiculous, right? So there's a complete bias.
Right.
But parking enforcement is a city purview. So you would go through the LA County. As I said, I'm giving you an example. The LA
Okay.
County is where you would make your complaint. You'd say, okay, here, look, we've got these videos. We've got all of these cars that it shows. Look, they've been here for 3 days. Here's the proof. Here are their serial numbers. Here's the license plate numbers. They all have handicap plates. Do the tags even match the
Right.
person that was in the car? But that's not all stuff that you have to do. You give them the implication and the reason for investigating the crime of the county or the city office. They have to finish the investigation. So then they go through and look at what the call time, what the response time, if they got towed, if they weren't called to get towed, was the car ever moved? Was it blocked? Or, where they chalk the tires? They go through and do all of that. That's part of their investigation process. Um, no, it's LA County is the where you send in the complaint because
But
the
it
county,
oversees both the county and the cities.
right? Yep,
Yep.
both. So
And
it's
let me say this, Haggis Basher, talking about Jess had an inch over the line. The thing is that that's an inch over the line. That's a violation. And they don't care about that. I guarantee you, in the case of possible Scientologists with possibly bad handicap parking permits parking there, I could see them literally going in there and having someone with a stick to stop the cars before they go over the line. Once no matter how nitpicky it seems, an inch is an inch, and that's the way that they look at it. And they
That's
will
what she
literally,
said.
yeah.
Sorry, had to.
You got me with that one. Okay.
So,
But
so, it's but it's their job to do the investigation. It's their
Mhm.
job to figure out whether it was done properly or not, who did it, what happened, who was called, and through that, you've got jurors bombarding the parking enforcement office saying, okay, give us all the receipts. We want to see all your receipts for the past 6 months. We want to see all the calls for service. We want to see, and it's their job to gather all of that to make the case. Now, at the end of the year, they may come back and say, okay, DA, we found this, this, and this. These are the improvements that need to be made. But in the meantime, parking enforcement's going to giddy up. They're going to put themselves on notice that they need to make sure and not do what they were doing. Besides the fact that there was that one pickup, the construction truck that was broke down there, and he comes out and he didn't speak a lot of English, and he was talking to, I can't remember who it was, Aja or somebody, and said, "Oh no, we have an agreement with the parking authority that we can park and they won't call us."
Really?
So they have it on video saying that, yeah, that there was an agreement with parking authority that they wouldn't tow anybody from the Church of Scientology. So, anyways, so I did not
Well,
file
gee,
that claim.
that doesn't show any kind of um, how should I say, contradictory acts, would it?
No,
My
not at
goodness.
all.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
just unreal. But as I said, I have not filed that claim. If somebody else wants to, be be my guest. Have at it. You do need to be an LA County resident in order to do that, to file in LA County for the civil jury. If you're in a different county, Riverside or whatever county, that's the county you would look at for your area.
Yeah.
But it's a neat thing. Now, the other states that have it, I believe it's Nevada. Nevada has one exactly like California, where it is mandated. Oh,
I,
Serge just texted me.
oh,
So Nevada is is the other one that has a mandated. The other 5 states, I'm not too sure. I think it's Pennsylvania, and we need to talk to, 2 Sandwiches Tall, and I'm pretty sure it's Florida. So these are all
I
areas
just wish
that
we knew
have.
someone in Florida, man.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
all areas that we could use this.
Dusty. So yeah, these are, and this is important. Um, yeah, rib guy. I realized that after I pulled things up, I didn't realize. Yeah, I mean the. Yeah, you're gonna have fun with that, but that's the beauty of the online world is things never really disappear. So there's many ways. I've got some other ways I'll look for it as well for you. Haggis Basher, and this goes back to exactly what Mona was talking about. They're calling in and they're reporting these vehicles, but when you have folks saying, "Well, we have an agreement with Scientology, we're not going to tow their cars," you can call in 1,000 times and they're
Yeah,
not going to do anything. So this is why these things, why we need these civil grand juries, the complaints made to them need them convened so that they are actually taking this to task. And when they sit there and they go, "Hey, look, the citizens are coming to us and they're fed up. You're not doing your job, or you're making these agreements like the IRS with this organization where you are ignoring the fact that they are violating the law, yet you're going to
mhm,
go out and you're going to tow or ticket other people for the exact same things." That's where it starts getting into a criminal behavior, because you're showing a clear bias and a neglect of duty in doing so. By bringing it to a civil grand jury, what you're doing is you're forcing the focus onto the misdeeds of the organization that's overlooking these things. When you
right,
start calling them to task and you start forcing them through things like a civil grand jury, and you start showing that yes, there is a bias, there is a neglect, there is something going on there that shouldn't be happening, this is how you force their hand on things. Because the next thing is you could be looking at millions of dollars in civil suits. You could also be looking at criminal charges if the right people are made aware of what's going on and there is actual criminal neglect going on there. When you have a parking enforcement officer, they are bound by certain laws, they are bound by certain ordinances, they are bound by rules and regulations, and they are not supposed to be making these offhanded agreements or collaborations that go against what their duty is supposed to be. They're supposed to be like the police. They're supposed to be blind to whether or not you are Scientology, you are Sears and Roebuck, you are this or that. Everyone is supposed to be treated equally. And that's why these are so important. And we have to keep our eyes on that, folks. And as with everything else, it's not going to happen overnight, but we have to get the ball rolling at some point. So
it's not, and Dusty, I never did comment on that comment that you had made. Thank you for calling me sexy. It isn't sexy work. It truly isn't sexy work, but it sure does feel good to be part of the solution rather than the problem, and part of not saying, "Well, somebody should do something," and rather than just saying it, doing it. It feels good to be able to do that.
absolutely. And that's the thing is that in this fight, folks, everyone wants to contribute. Everyone wants to be part of it. And we love that. We love the fight and the determination and how everyone wants to take up their banner in this fight against Scientology. And what we're doing is we're trying to find different ways, because so many of the ways that have been tried so far, Scientology has been able to squirrel out one way or another, either through association, making big donations to things like the police athletic leagues, the police Christmas funds, things like that. Safe pointing the police department, safe pointing the parking department, safe pointing the mayor. As we've seen Karen Bass when she's been at Scientology events talking about how, um, what's that mean, Mandy Beach? You're not FF. What's that? But, these are all things. Oh, okay. It was for Sir Crepidus not feeling well. So, well, I told him he's out there eating from them stands that he really questionable. But Sir Crepitus, he knows everything, and that's why he does that stuff. And now he's got poo poo problems, and it's you just got to remember that he's a big fella, he can handle it. And Kelly, question: parking, planting without consequences. Have you seen the blue building lately? Looks like a cemetery. Have you seen that?
Yeah. There and as I said, I can't get into it, but the permits, the street closures, and the one thing I can talk about is even Jeffrey Augustine came up with with the letter, the article the other day about how they've had a constant street closure since June 1st.
Mm.
And that was after Easter. Easter, I think, was March 31st, and then the uh, where they did the tents and stuff started June 1st or May 30th, whatever. So they've had a permit since then. And it basically is a de facto street vacation.
Absolutely.
And a street vacation, of course, is where they overtake and make it a private road rather than a public road. And that's just BS. Especially having it as a corridor between the hospital and the other exterior roads. They've got it closed down to where there's I laughed at Audit's video the other day about choo choo, can't get a fire engine down this road because it's all
Yeah.
closed. And she just made comments as she was doing it. It was cute. And if there was an earthquake or a fire, you wouldn't get a fire truck down that road.
Well,
There isn't a fire lane.
well, like we've talked about in the case for you and Audit LA, where are you supposed to park where you have access that you would need? How are you supposed to get around? Are you supposed to walk a half mile around because they somehow have been able to shut the place down for so long?
Yeah,
And
for fake
yeah,
events. Well, and they have now the planners all the way around, and that's an ADA violation. Um,
absolutely. Where's
not that
where's that legal counsel that's been suing everybody and their cousin in California, Arizona, New Mexico, and all that? Been suing all
yeah, but
these
see,
places.
there's no monetary value in suing any of that. It's all
Yeah.
intrinsic value. There's no monetary value for that at all.
Well,
It
what they're
just
doing
makes
is
work.
they're getting settlements to not push forward with it, and that's what's been going on with those things. I saw the
Yeah.
news reports on that, and how there have been a number of attorneys who were part of it, and they've suddenly left that organization. But these are the things, folks, is that you know, we definitely, if anyone has connections with some kind of legal organization and not the ACLU, a lot of people have tried going through the ACLU and have run into they've shown no interest in it whatsoever, or have flat out said no. If you know these nonprofit legal organizations that are willing to take up these fights, these are the things that we need to get online
Yeah.
with us, and we need to get them helping out with bringing in the legal representation. And folks,
California has an ambulance chaser law, and they are not allowed to promote themselves to anybody. The legal departments, the attorneys,
right,
they cannot say, "Hey, I see you're having a problem." They
right,
can't do that. So we as the people need to reach out to the attorneys, and there have been a few that we have reached out to. Some have been in the past very vehemently um, opposed to the Church of Scientology. So that's kind of nice to have in our back pockets. But we're not at a point yet that legal that we could be paying legal. I mean, they could do it on a pro bono, but
right.
yeah. But on
Um,
with the planters, there's nowhere to set a lift down. If Auditor I wanted to take paratransit services, you, there's nowhere to put the lift down to take a bus. And so, and on either side of Fountain Avenue, There is over on the other one on the other side of L. Ron Hubbard Way, on the other side of the church, but there really isn't any drop-off points there except for in the driveway.
Right.
So
It's very well calculated. I mean, it's not like this just happened out of some coincidence. We know that. And folks, if you want to see, this is one of the more recent ones. This is Jeffrey Augustine's Scientology Money Project. His live is Scientology keeps a public roadway and sidewalks closed, and ends with blocked by the cult. And I'm going to put the link into the chat there again. I've already put it in once, but get over there and take a look at that and see what it is that they're actually doing over there.
I happened to be watching him when he was doing that one
Mhm.
because I wanted to see. Now, security came out, as I said, they've been hiring third-party security, which is kind of funny. Um, it's a hoot, really. But third-party security comes out, and as Jeff was walking down L. Ron Hubbard Way, they came out and said, well, "You're not welcome. You're not welcome. You're not welcome." And he goes, "What do you mean I'm not welcome?" He goes, "Well, you're on a list." Jeffrey goes, "What list?"
Mhm.
We know what list. And
Yeah.
and he says, "Well, you're on a list." And he goes, "Well, what list?" He goes, "You're not welcome here. You're on a list."
Yeah.
And so I've been using that as a point in a lot of my comments and testimonies for public speaking is, what list are you enforcing? Because third party security now is enforcing a you can't walk down this road in a public event list.
Well, not just third party, folks who have no authority. They have no legal authority
Right.
whatsoever. So, yeah.
For an
And
open road public event, what list? Am
yeah,
I a terrorist?
I don't know. I mean, you're pretty radical. So, and Teresa, this is what we're doing. Teresa's comment is, now's the time to start to let the authorities know what is going on. There has to be some good people left in the world. And the thing is, I don't care if there's good people in the public places. They've had their chance. They've had the ability to do the right thing, but they've refused to do it, either by influence or by the fact that they're just not doing their jobs. Now it's time to hold even those good people accountable and make them do the job they're being paid for. And that's what this is about. We've given them the opportunity to do the right thing. Now we're tired of waiting. Now it's time to force you to do your job that you're getting paid by taxpayers' money.
How
So,
many officers and security have we heard say they own this road?
yeah, I mean, that
No,
has
you
been,
don't.
I think that's quite amazing that, oh, they own it. Wait a minute. When did they become the owners of a public
Yeah,
road? That's the thing.
right.
And
But it's because that's just the way it's always been.
yep.
And when in any corporate world or any government, any household or any family,
Mhm.
change doesn't happen until it's wanted or forced.
Absolutely. And Miss Sunrise Dawn, this is for you. Chocolate. There you go. Sunrise Dawn said that someone say chocolate. I just felt we had to do that. But and that's the thing, folks. We've got to remember all of this is being done on the taxpayers' dimes. Okay. Them getting these permits, getting permission to shut down these roadways, getting permission to say who is and who is not allowed on there is all being enforced by organizations that are governmental organizations and are paid for by us, the taxpayers. All right. Let that sink in. You have a religious, uh, religious organization that is a cult that has billions of dollars, owns billions of dollars of property, and they are getting the government to use our tax money to front for them. That's why something like these civil grand juries are important because it exposes what they are doing. It exposes the corruption, the collaboration. It exposes all of this to the public. And it also gives us a means to hold them accountable, that they can't just brush it off. And that's why these things are so important. But it's also very important that these things don't get leaked too soon, that we make sure that these things come out in the appropriate time so that they are not given the opportunity to fight them. All right. We all know a lot of governmental agencies have a problem nowadays with transparency. How
Right.
many have been caught either deleting files, deleting recordings, shredding paperwork? Gee, doesn't that sound an awful lot like Scientology? But we're seeing this within our own governmental organizations, and it's important that we hold them to the task and hold them accountable. And you know what? Sorry that, oh, well, you got bumped down to a lower level in your job and someone has been brought in to make sure you're doing it. Well, if you'd been doing your job in the first place and doing it right, there wouldn't be any need for this.
Right.
So sorry, but not sorry. And mischief managed, I had to do that. I couldn't resist. I mean,
And I'm not a chocolate person whatsoever, but now I want a chocolate bar.
yeah. The wife came home with one earlier, and she's like, "You want some of this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." So
Yeah.
let's see.
But as I said, it's certainly not sexy work. It's certainly not stuff that's going to
No,
take it down. But you know what? It's every piece of the puzzle makes a difference.
absolutely.
Every time we take a notch, every single time makes a difference. And Eric Rader said it really well the other day. He said, this is the biggest PR war ever. This is how we need to treat this, is a big PR war, because that's their biggest enemy, is PR.
And it's a history of them being able to bully and run roughshod over
Yeah.
anyone they considered as a dissenter or an enemy. And now they can't do that because we have this wonderful thing called the internet and social media that they can't control. And believe me, they are scrambling trying to figure out what they've got to do for it. So it's not like it's again, this is in no way a sprint. This is a marathon. But every hurdle that is put on the track that has to be overcome, we're gaining the lead because they're stumbling because of social media. They're stumbling because of the ever growing audience of people who are against Scientology and the things that they've done. All of these things that happen put them further behind us. We just have to make sure that we watch our backs and we keep pushing forward. And eventually we're going to overcome this and we're going to cross that finish line. And I know that there's a lot of people, well, it's taken too long. It needs to happen quicker. Nothing with the government happens quick. All right. That's the first thing you got to realize. 32 years of working in the government. And then before that, being in the military. Mona, how many years did you have working with the government?
Too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can both tell you bureaucracy is intentionally slow. All right. They they make it slow, they make it difficult because it's job security for them. So bureaucracy is a never-ending mountain of red tape and paperwork. And like Mona was saying, it's not glamorous. You talk to real CIA agents, real people who work for the CIA, do the spy network stuff. I've never met one that looked like James Bond. I've never met one that looked like Tom Cruise. All right. There's a lot of people look a lot like me, look like Mona, look like all of us because it's not the big glamorous thing that everybody thinks it is. It's a lot more behind the scenes, paperwork, research, those kinds of things, as compared to being out there in the field with the newest gadgets and technology. That's the end part of it all. The real legwork of it is all sitting in an office going through paperwork, going over photographs, doing things like that. That's what Mona's been doing in the background. And, again, it's been a lot of it's been kept quiet simply for the need that it has to be kept close to chest. But some of it's starting to come out. And when the reality of the work that Mona's been doing actually hits, people are going to be blown away with it. That's why I keep saying you are the most unrecognized warrior in this and the most underrated person in this. And I know you'll sit there and go, nah, I
And I
know what
am.
you're
I
going to
mean,
do.
blah, 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 blah,
Take
blah, blah,
take a
blah.
take a bit of credit every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that. But
I'll
that's
take
the
some
thing.
chocolate. Send me chocolate.
All right. I got you. Do you got Grubhub out there by you?
No, I don't.
No,
I
no,
have cornfields.
yeah, it's kind of hard to deliver hot fudge sundae on a tractor, ain't it? So
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, and Thunder Age, yeah, I agree with you. That is part of what we had, is that the street closures, the permits, and that was my comments yesterday to the Public Works was, look, you guys, we want these darn street back. If nothing else, at least tell us what we're supposed to be abiding by. But you've got the portal for the permits still down. You can't figure out what the street closure is, so nobody can verify squat. That's
yeah.
ridiculous. So
And
figure it out, people.
that's where I've got a real problem with this whole thing is there's no way to confirm or deny that their permits are valid or what they're supposed to be for. How can they be enforced?
Right.
The police won't show you a copy of the permit, and they say that they have been posted and that it's not their fault. You can't find it anymore. These are the different things I've been seeing in the various videos with people talking to police on scene. Yet, if they can't verify it and they can't show you proof of it, how can they enforce it? That's why permits are pretty much mandatorily have to be posted where they're accessible and visible for anyone in the public.
Right.
So why is it not being followed? And that's
And
a very important thing.
another idea is for the civil grand jury, which, as I said, I've only done the one because I've just had too much else going on for other
Right.
things. But another thing is they've got that big container of dirt and material that they've dug out, and there's no permit posted, nothing. There's an
How do
old permit from 22.
and I know that California is one of the biggest states when it comes to environmental laws. Where are the permits? Where are the studies on that dirt to make sure that that's not contaminated dirt that's being left out there? And you have particulates coming off of it into the public. Where are all these things at? And
Right.
we're not being showed any of it. And we're basically being told, well, it's been done, it's there. Too bad you don't get to see it. No, that's not acceptable. It's this whole believe what I say thing is not working, and they've got to be held accountable. That's why these civil grand juries are important. It's like with I'd say a good example is with cities having very high amounts of retail fraud. And they're finding out, like in New York City, where they found out that like 60 people were responsible for 90% of the retail fraud going on in the city of New York. And they were actually a professional band of people doing it. And because of the refusal to prosecute on it, you have companies literally closing up points of sales that are valuable to the community which they're in. When if they had they had not ever started with this whole, we're not going to prosecute if you steal less than $1,000, they wouldn't, you wouldn't have people sitting there going, this is the only place I can get to get the food that I need, to get my medications. Now it's closing because they're losing so much money they can't stay in operation. These are instances, and I'm trying to use ones that don't conflict with what you're doing. But these are instances where it would be a civil grand jury would be very important. and hold
Mhm.
the people who are supposed to be doing the job accountable for what they're supposed to be doing. And it's
You know, and
very
if the state doesn't have civil grand juries, you can find its replacement value in your state. Um,
yep,
I look at all the problems Illinois, Chicago's been having. There's no reason why you can't find the replacement value of that office or that process and figure it out and make a complaint, start a complaint, make them toe the line.
absolutely. And
And
that's the thing.
and as my grandma used to say, when you start hearing, you know, somebody should do that, that's the Holy Spirit saying, "Yeah, go ahead, do it." That's a poking for you to
Yeah.
get going and doing it.
Let's see. I'm just looking back through the comments. I'm listening to what you're saying. Uh, oh, okay.
Yeah,
It was
Haggis
something else not
Pasture though, but
related.
they don't have a permit. The most current permit they had was from 2022, and it was supposedly good for 2 years, but it had to have been continual work.
Right.
And the drawings that they put in with it has nothing to do with reinforcing walls. So again, you don't have to have all the evidence. You just need to have enough evidence for them to have a clear understanding of an investigation need. And then they do the investigation.
Now, which website is it for the online permit? Is that the lacitydbs.org permit TIA permit LA dot LA City?
You mean to show the permit of what it is?
Yeah, to the portal where you track it all that's been suddenly closed down. I quit
Oh,
looking at it because of the number of times.
It's Streets LA Boss. I don't remember what the heck it's called. Let me see if I can find it.
I
I
wanted to
always
get
get
that
the
out
wrong
there
one.
so folks could actually could see it also.
Okay, so I went to the wrong one.
Yeah, I just looked up LA permit portal, and it's I wanted to make sure I had the right one. It's been so long since I've looked at it. But it's important, folks, and the number of people complaining to the city of LA saying, "Hey, I want to know about permits, whether or not a permit is valid or not. Why is your portal not working?" And not accepting the um well, it's just how it is. It's not working. No, hold them to task on that as well. We don't allow this stuff to continue as it does. We have to keep calling them out on the fact that they're not doing their job, and it appears very calculated in things like the fact that the permit portal goes down when suddenly they're shutting down the entire L. Ron Hubbard way, and they're telling people you're not allowed here. How on earth can they make that kind of determination and tell someone they're not allowed? It's like when I went to the Tokyo org, and when I went in, until they saw my face, I was very welcome. They were very happy, very welcoming to me. Once they saw who I was, suddenly I was told, "Oh, you're not allowed in here. You have to leave." And then they make up some excuse and literally show that they know more than they do than they're supposed to when they say you haven't been in Japan long enough to be inside the building. You have to have been here at least 4 days. How in the world did they know how long I'd been in Japan? I hadn't told them that. So these folks shouldn't have known it. You know, these are the things we need. There you go. Special events, lacity.org home. Excellent. And that's the thing is that thank you for posting that. The folks
You're welcome.
keep an eye on that link, keep going at it. And if it continues to be down, then, online complaints to the city of LA. Why is your permit portal not active? Why is it down? Why has it been down this long? When are we going to be able to find out if permits are valid or not? And that's what those are things we need to do. We need to continue to hold them to the task. We need to we need to hold them accountable for these kinds of things. If we don't do that, then they're going to continue to get away with what they're doing. Let's see. But okay. There you go. And see, these are all things I didn't know about civil grand juries. I know about grand juries. I've seen enough of them. I hate being part of them, but I didn't know that there was a such thing as a civil grand jury until Mona told me about it. Mandy Beach, they literally have internal IT guys who can fix that in minutes and unfix it too, for that matter. All about timing. Absolutely. Like I said,
I
it's
have
go ahead.
I have to brag just a little bit. So I just got posted jet mechanic girl. That's my big sister
Oh,
in
okay.
real life.
Oh,
Hi
really?
sis. Hi sissy.
I jet mechanic. And this is, folks, these are important topics. We talk about the protesting, the importance of the protesting. We talk about the importance of putting the information out through YouTube and other social media ports. But this is another tool in how we go against Scientology and bring this organization down. And we have to be cognizant, we have to be aware, we have to be diligent. And these are the things that help us in that fight against Scientology. So, all right, do you have other news for us, Miss Mona Ma'am?
I do, but you know what? It is very big news. I'm
Okay.
giving you a little bit of a tease here, and I think we should do it on a different night because it's
Okay.
huge and it's a whole thing in itself.
Was that
Um,
one thing we've been trying to figure whether we wanted to do it or not?
no, that's a whole nother topic. There's two topics,
And
but
that
this
one's
is
huge too.
this is concerning Serge O.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Serge Obolinski, and it's
Yeah.
huge, 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 you guys.
Yeah. And folks, you need to make sure you're hitting and making sure you have the notifications up for both Mona's channel and mine. Sunday night, just letting you folks know, Sunday night, as everybody's been requesting, Jamie Mustard is returning, and he's going to give me an update on what's been going on, how things are going. He has information like the fact of he's been working with other doctors and bringing down the pricing of the
Yeah,
DSR treatments. This is big, big things, because you have someone like Miriam who couldn't afford it. Miriam being a single mother, raising her family, but needing this. And you all saw last Sunday how glowing she was, how much different she is now because of it. And so for the fact that they're working on it and they're helping to bring down the pricing, that's amazing. So having Jamie back, that's not going to be another big one. Mona and I have been talking about doing a topic. I'm not going to say anything about the topic itself, but let me just say it's huge, and it gives
it's
you
huge.
insights into Scientology and the mindset of even the highest in Scientology. And
We have 3 topics we're working on. I forgot about the 3rd one.
really, which one was that one?
J
Well, we'll talk about it after, but folks, there are a lot of things that are in the works, and
Uh,
there is information, and there are topics that we're going to be bringing up that are absolutely there. Some of this stuff is mind-blowing. When Mona was reading something to me the first time I heard it, I sat there, I was like,
it has a little
"Really?"
bit to do with old OSA files that somebody sent me, and I've been going through thousands of OSA files,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
this one's a bad one.
is that third topic about the phone call I made earlier today?
Yes, it is.
Okay. That one's a huge one too. I think that one's going to be really fun. And if we get the guests that
Yep.
we'd like to have on for that one's going to be an amazing live. And you're not just going to hear what the OSA files are, but if this person agrees to join us, you're going to hear it directly from the person. It's actually pretty funny if you ask me, but it also shows you that OSA isn't as strong as they think they are, and how someone can actually run rings around them. So there's a lot of things we've got going on. So what is new in the life of Mona otherwise? I haven't seen any
Well,
new videos of you out and about. Have you been out and about?
I haven't been.
What?
I haven't been. Just lots of pain, and I've got
Yeah.
a little bit of a workaround literally Michael and Serge. Michael and Serge have an animal company where they do animal food, but they
Oh,
started doing animal health holistic products um, for pain, for settling them down, for anxiety, stuff like that. And he has a pain holistic medicine that it's human grade. So I'm gonna
hmm.
try it. I'm gonna see if it helps. This sounds whatever. The pharma stuff isn't working, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it and see. So I ordered some. We'll
Well,
see how that goes.
it seems to me that, and this is from personal observation, with having blown out my knee, I tore the MCL in my left knee. And for those of you who don't know, that's the large tendon that runs through the knee on the inside. You have the outside on the very outside of your leg. This one is the one in between both knees. That's that tendon there, and or ligament. I can't remember which one it is, but I actually tore mine. And for years, my doctor kept me on pain medications, and it got to the point where at the end, I was on the highest dosage of Norco that they could prescribe, and I was on it 3 times daily. And I said, you know what? I don't, it just doesn't feel right. I was feeling sick all the time. There were a lot of side effects coming off of it. And I literally just stopped cold turkey. And amazingly, the pain that it was supposed to be fighting, which it wasn't, I don't have that pain anymore.
Yeah,
And there were a lot of other pains that I was feeling that I'm not feeling now. Man, it just made me think, is the medication that my doctor had me on for so long, is that was that part of the problem in my healing? And I could say this, being down there in Malaysia, walking 5 to 10 miles a day, rebuilding the muscles in my legs, strengthening the tendons in my legs, I felt so much better than any time I was on that medication. So, if there's another approach to things other than pharmaceutical, I'm always for that.
yeah.
You know,
I totally agree. I
yeah.
totally agree.
And I'm so upset with, the way that the healthcare systems are, where literally your insurance companies are dictating what is and is not proper treatment for people. And you have people who have no medical experience that are making these decisions because a computer's telling them that these are the decisions to make. And to me, it's just, that's ridiculous. My
Well,
doctor should say,
that's the reason I haven't had any painkillers. They gave me muscle relaxers, which didn't do any good. But I
yeah,
haven't had any painkillers, which I'm kinda happy because now I'm not hooked on them or anything. But I've been doing this cold turkey on my shoulders for the last 7 months, and it hurts.
oh
Hurts
yeah,
like an SOB. And you know that. I'm not telling
oh
you
yeah.
any secrets or any. Yep, insurance is a scam. Yes, it is. It's legalized racketeering.
That's an interesting question from Peter Anderson about bringing trade unions into the possible construction. I know, like in New York, the unions have a strong control on things. I don't know how it is in California. Do you have any idea on that?
I don't, but I know one day when Henry was, looking at one of the construction vehicles that was there, he called it in, and because he was looking up the license, the
Mhm.
contractor license, and it wasn't current, and he got a message back saying they have, like, 180 days to make it current.
Okay.
So, it
Mm.
really didn't really make that big of a deal, but it's not a bad angle.
Yeah, and you know what, Peter Anderson, thank you for bringing that up because that's one of the things I've been talking about, and so has Mona, is thinking outside the norms, thinking outside the box,
Mhm.
and that's such an overused statement, but it really is something that we're trying to look at when it comes to the fight against Scientology, is thinking beyond just the file a complaint kind of thing. It's how else can we attack this problem and bring about the proper solution to it, because the regular ways aren't working. Scientology has its hooks in too deep, And it seems that there's too much affiliation and too much collaboration between the city of LA and this cult. So when we
It's
think
just
outside the
starting
box,
to cut off their
yeah,
tentacles every bit that we can, and we need to start doing that in other cities too. Um,
absolutely.
I
Chicago, you know, I mean, it's just that in Battle Creek, I mean, not Battle, well, Battle Creek, yeah, but
yeah.
also Clearwater. Very important that we start bringing this fight to them on so many different levels. And I've said it a billion times is that the more battles that we have, the more points of interest that they have to focus on, it makes them less able to focus on every one of them as clearly as they need to. They're going to keep stretching themselves out too far at some point, and that's going to be one of the tipping points for us. Um,
Well, it's like when you're having to deal with the gang in your line of work,
mhm.
Sheriff Poe. If you have 50
He-
people and they all
he-
run a if they all run a different way, you can't get them all.
nope. And being a big fat boy like I am, it's the slowest one is the one that I'm going to catch. So that's but I mean, even when I was in my best shape, I've never been a really fast runner. It's always been more about core strength with me. But the fact is that it's exactly like you said, my brother, when he was 16, 17 years old, he got pulled over and was written a ticket for speeding. And he was in a group of cars, and he gets in front of the judge and he says, well, your honor, it's not fair because I was in a group of like 5 or 6 different cars all going the same speed limit. And the judge goes, was there 5 or 6 officers there? No. Well, how do you expect him to stop them all? Somebody has to get caught. You were breaking the law, and it doesn't mean that because other people were doing it that it's therefore valid. So it's spread them out, make them strain their resources, make them stretch things out. And as we know, there are people leaving Scientology daily. They are not growing. They are slowly
Mhm.
dying by attrition. And at some
And
point, they're just not going to have the staffing to do it. So,
and to bring this back around to where we started tonight, when we're looking at the survivors at Serge, at
mhm,
Laura, at Jenna, at Jamie, at Liz and Nora, and the list goes on. Those are who we are really working for right now. And those when Serge goes, "Phew, no more kids. Kids can't consent. We don't
absolutely.
have no more kids to fight for." I'd be okay, great, job's done. On with the next one.
Absolutely. And folks, we need to continue contact your local news stations, your local newspapers, your media outlets, all of them. Present them with things like Surge's videos, present them with facts, present them with the real stories of the victims. And we just have to keep doing that because sooner or later, there's going to be a reporter who sees this as the opportunity for them to build their career off a big story. Sooner or later, there's going to be an editor who says, you know what? We keep getting these emails, we keep getting these notifications about what Scientology is doing. We're going to have to do something about we got this is just too big not to talk about. And the thing is that some of them are going to see that the fight is actually starting to gain more and more momentum and realize that this litigious organization that has been going after media organizations isn't going to be able to bring the fight that they claim they have.
Mm-mm.
And the tide's going to start turning on this. And we just got to keep pushing at it, folks. We can't forget. We can't forget the Lisa McPhersons. We can't forget the Whitney Mills. We can't forget the Bob Ferrises, the Heber Gensches of the world of Scientology. We can't forget Jamie Mustard. We can't forget Serge. We can't forget the 2 Lizzes. We can't, well, there's probably multiple Lizzes. We can't forget Nora. We can't forget all these things that have happened. That's why the other night, and howdy out at LA, how you doing?
We've
That
been talking about you, girl.
yeah, she's been saying horrible things about you. I'm surprised she calls you a friend. But
I somebody called you a boss, and I said she's not a boss, she's a badass.
yeah, she's
That's
a
what I said.
but then again, if it's somebody that does gaming, boss is big stuff for them. So, um, But the fact is, folks, is that we can't forget this. That's why I did the live the other night where I had Lisa McPherson on the thumbnail of it. It's amazing that we keep thinking about the protesters, about the other content that's being out there, but we have to continue to remember the victims, and especially the victims who cannot speak for themselves anymore. And they should be part of our drive why we do this. The children who are to this day being victims of this cult and its philosophies, they should be the drive for what we're doing, and there should be
That's
a
right.
never ending fire in us for it. Go ahead.
Nope, that's right. I'm agreeing with you.
And that's that's the thing, folks. We just have to keep it fresh in our memory, keep it keep it continually revolving, keep our thoughts, our actions, the things that we're doing, have no fear, and realize that eventually they just can't keep fighting this. The Grant Cardones, the big whales that they have, eventually it's going to be so costly for those big whales that they're either going to become bankrupt, or they're going to say, I'm not going to have a single thing left in my name if I keep giving every penny I've got to this. They're eventually going to
Mhm.
move away, or they're going to go bankrupt, or you got some of them that are actually now in prison because of the things that they've done to continually be part of the funding agent for Scientology.
You
And
know,
if
just
you
it's
go ahead.
I know Serge is constantly saying this is Epstein Island and Larry Nassar on steroids.
Yeah, and Harvey Weinstein, all rolled
Yeah.
up into one organization. It's ego and it's power driven. And one of the big things is if you know somebody who's a big funder of Scientology, let me know. Bring me the information on it. Let's start pointing these people out. Start putting them out there in the world. Hey, this person donated X amount of dollars to Scientology. An organization where you have X amount of people are saying, I was a child and I was SA'd in Scientology. And not only did they hide the fact I was SA'd, they turned around and they hid it from the world. They protected the person who did it to me and then told me it was my fault to do it.
Yep.
You start putting things like that out there, and there's going to be people start taking making real attention at what's going on. So these are the things that we need to know. These are the things that need, if you know about it, bring it my way. If you don't want to be associated with it and you want to remain anonymous, absolutely. But if you have, the information, get it to me. I will make sure that you get the credit for it that you deserve. I don't need the credit. I just want to make sure I'm putting the information out there and that we're holding the people to task that are funding this evil cult. And it's very important that we continue to do so. We continue to remember, we continue the fight, we continue to make the complaints, we continue looking at different ways of fighting them,
Mhm.
and we will succeed. We just have to be committed and we have to keep going. So, Miss Mona, do you have any parting thoughts for us tonight?
Nope. Just never mind the sexy stuff and just keep on working at chinking
Absolutely.
away we can as much as we can. That's all we can do. And that's my commitment. It's been my commitment to Serge that I will work with him until we see this.
Absolutely.
We'll see this through.
And folks, make sure you're getting over there showing Serge and Michael so much love and respect. They deserve it. Serge has been he has been a godsend to this community. Michael has been a godsend to this community. We need to show them the love and respect that they deserve. Show them, and they're not asking for everybody to, shout their praises and everything. But
No.
I'm asking you, please, you know, don't let what they're doing go in vain. Show them the love and respect that they deserve for it. Folks, like I said, Sunday night, Jamie Mustard will be back with me. We're going to be getting an update on Jamie and what's going on within the world of the DSR. As you know, Jamie has 2 books out. We'll be talking about those as well. Friday night, Dusty Soda Dispenser, Machine Fountain, Earthquake, Anomaly, whatever he is this week, because he keeps changing it on us. He will be coming on live from LA. He's going to be joining me live while he's out in LA. Hopefully, we'll also have Farrell Cheryl and Jerry, Sarasota Jerry on as well that night. But we're trying to put it together. They're going to be out live out in LA, and we're going to be doing a panel here while they're out there doing their thing in LA. And folks, we got a lot of things coming up. Just a lot of really hot topics we're going to be hitting on, and some really crazy stuff that, like I said, when Mona was reading it to me, my jaw was on the floor. Let's see who is live right now. Looks like someone named Fat Grammy's live. I see that.
Fat Grammy's gonna eat some snacks and go to bed. I might even have to find some chocolate in the house, sir.
I'm about to have me some of my edibles myself.
You know what I have in the freezer?
What's that?
A snowball.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh.
I've got these ones, and they're called dots, and they're just like M&Ms, and they are amazing. So they taste just like M&Ms, and they really do the job. So folks, I just looked it up. My buddy Dave from Gotta Love Thailand, really great guy. As always, you don't have to go in and spend the entire time there. Just go in, say hi. If you want to, you could say room raid, but just go in there, hit the like, show some support. I love seeing the channels get the love and respect out there. I love seeing the channels grow, seeing new people come in, new faces, new ways of, thinking about things. As always, folks, keep the fight up, keep the fire going. Please remember, we respect each and every one of you, and we thank you for being here. Without you, there would be none of these channels. You are just as important in this fight as any of us are. And we respect you. We love you. We thank you for all that you do for us. And as always, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.